Cypress Financial Group presents the Retirement Roundtable Podcast with John Scallan. Get more at cypressfinancial.net. Now, let's get to the show.
My name is Mark Owens, and John Scallan, before we get into it here this weekend, you offer the Retirement Ready Report. It's no cost, no obligation to adults approaching and through retirement. But let's break it down. What exactly is the Retirement Ready Report?
Well, good morning to you, my friend. I'd love to jump into that. You know, the Retirement Ready Report is a high level, let's call it that 30,000-foot bird's eye view of exactly where you are in terms of the big three. Let's talk about the big three, what we call here the big three of financial planning. Are you on track? I mean, what this simply means is this. What have you accumulated? What are your expenses on a monthly basis? What kind of debt that you may or may not have that could come between you and a really risk-free or stress-free retirement, if I could put it that way. Again, where are you now, and what might be the main focus of our planning together? Let's take that a little further. Number two, what does your retirement cost? And when I talk about cost, yes, I'm talking about expenses. Yes, I'm talking about debt, but more importantly, I'm talking about income. What are you going to need month by month, year by year? Will we have the flexibility to adjust this strategy in what could be 30 years of a retirement for you and your spouse? And as we move into number three, what are the biggest risks that you're not thinking about? I mean, Mark, I think the big one in this category, let me give you a stat here that everybody needs to know. 7 out of 10 Americans will need long-term care at some point in their retirement journey. Think about it. 70%. It could be a short stint needing long-term care. It could be something that goes on for a very, very long time. I think that the second key point in this category is liquidity. How much do you have in a liquid account? We want to make sure this liquid account is outpacing inflation. We don't want it sitting in a checking account with, it being a dead asset. But again, the key point is it needs to be liquid. It's got to be earning you some money, because this liquidity piece of your retirement is a big, big deal.
It's no cost, no obligation for that initial consultation. A representative is standing by right now. 504-732-1001 or online at cypressfinancial.net. And, John, I came across some fascinating research from a company called Capitalize. They found that there are now 2.1 trillion, and that's trillion with a T, $2.1 trillion sitting in forgotten 401k accounts. The number of these accounts have nearly doubled over the last decade. We're talking 32 million accounts with an average balance of over $65,000. What are you doing about these abandoned 401k accounts?
Man, oh man, Mark, I see this more often than I ever thought possible. And I got to tell you, it still surprises me. I mean, what's driving this is layoffs, hiring freezes, economic uncertainty. I mean, people lose their jobs not by choice. And, when that happens, dealing with the old 401k sometimes becomes the last thing on their mind. They're trying to, gather themselves, get back to work, and start the, economic engine to help them live their lives. A couple of other things, the rollover process, getting that money out of these old 401ks. Sometimes it's manual and it's arduous. It's confusing. So people, they leave those accounts behind, sometimes for years. Let me walk you through a hypothetical scenario to show you, just exactly how this may play out. Picture a couple, they're on the North Shore, both 63 years old, getting ready to retire in the next year or two. They've got a real nice nest egg, about 1.2 million saved. They come in for their complimentary consultation. We start what I call a portfolio x-ray. And the first piece of that x-ray is looking at everything they have, trying to understand the complete picture. The husband's got his current 401k worth about $600,000, but when we ask about old 401ks from previous employers, he says, John, I think I've got one somewhere, maybe two.
John, I hate to interrupt you, but I'm listening going, oh, man, I've been in this exact same situation. So what do you do?
Well, we jump into detective mode, man. We start figuring out, how do we track these down? I mean, it turns out in this particular situation, there are not one, not two, but three old 401k accounts that had been almost completely forgotten. I mean, this is pretty typical. One had 45,000 in it, another 28,000. Well, that third one originally had 18,000 when he left the job 14 years ago, but it got what's called auto transferred into what's called a safe harbor IRA. In this particular case, it's because the balance was too small. Here's the thing with safe harbor IRAs. They are designed to preserve capital and not to grow it. They typically have higher fees and very conservative investments. Now, what was really surprising, even to everything that I have seen in this industry, that 18,000 over 14 years, it's now just above $20,000. Meanwhile, if he had paid attention to this and rolled it into an IRA earning even 5%, this could be worth $35,000 or more by now. That's $15,000 or $16,000 just left on the table from not paying attention to this one investment. Now, Mark, here's where it gets really interesting. Each of those 401ks had a different allocation. One is 100% stocks. Aggressive growth box was checked 20 years ago and it was never changed. The second one, it's in what we call a target date fund that turned out to be way too conservative for where these investors are today. Nothing is coordinated. Nothing makes sense together. And here's the real killer. The fees, one account is charging almost 2% every year because it's in a retail share class. Over time, that's costing this investor tens of thousands of dollars.
504-732-1001, cypressfinancial.net, as we're talking about the power of a 401k. So what can we do if we know we have these accounts? How do you manage those?
Well, Mark, for us, the solution is very clear. Consolidate everything. Roll those old accounts into IRAs so that they can be properly managed. Look at the complete picture, all 1.2 million plus those forgotten accounts. What we do there is to create an actual strategy, not this pile of stuff mentality. This much money goes into growth. This much is positioned conservatively for income, stability, and liquidity. This much in a liquid reserve account for that 3 to 5 year emergency fund that we continually talk about. Everything with a purpose, not just hoping that this pile of stuff works out. It is simply actually having a clear, concise, and effective retirement plan.
So, John, talk to me about the reaction from adults that you offer the 401k x-ray. You find an orphan 401k account or multiple accounts. Substantial money is found. How do people react to that conversation?
Mark, I would say, that's really interesting because there's usually both relief and frustration at the same time. I mean, it's relief because, wow, we actually have more than we thought, but a little bit of frustration because they're thinking we've been leaving money on the table for years and didn't even know it. That is the problem of not knowing. You don't know what you don't know. And this isn't a unique situation. Research, time and time again, shows that across multiple old accounts, the difference between leaving them scattered and actually managing them through a properly designed plan can exceed tens of thousands of dollars, usually in excess of $60, $70, $80,000 over a decade or more. Mark, I think you'll agree that is real money. Here's the point. If you're listening and this sounds like it could be your situation, if it suddenly hits you that you've got an old account or maybe even two sitting out there unmanaged, please give us a call, 504-732-1001. We will schedule a complimentary consultation. We'll help you track down those old accounts, show you what you actually have, help you figure out if it makes sense together. Whether you come to our Metairie office, our Mandeville office, whether we meet virtually or at your home or business, we will make this work. This is what I have built my entire career on. 504-732-1001. Again, if you're not quite ready for the in-depth deep dive into your portfolio, just ask for the Retirement Ready Report. 10 or 15-minute phone call, personalized report within 24 to 48 hours showing you exactly where you stand.
And John, let's zoom out a little bit and look at the bigger picture because the timing of all of this is very significant. We've got a record number of baby boomers retiring this year. Now, according to research, 51% of Americans actually retire at 61 or earlier. Another 23% are going to retire between the ages of about 62 and 64. So most people are retiring early, quote unquote, by traditional standards before their mid-60s. What does this mean for people and what are they not thinking about, John?
Here's what most people don't realize about retiring early. Even if it's just 61 or 62, sometimes it comes with traps they haven't thought about. And let me lay this out. Let me outline three of these. Number one, if you retire before 59 and a half, having access to your 401k or your IRA can be tricky. Now, there are some exceptions and some strategies like the rule of 55, but a lot of people don't know about these. If health issues or job loss forces you out at 57 or 58, you have to have a plan for how to access this money without penalties eating into these hard-earned dollars. Let's look at number two, Social Security. Full retirement age, sometimes referred to as FRA, is age 67 if you were born in 1960 or later. You can claim as early as 62, but your benefits get reduced permanently. And this is, Mark, for the rest of your life. A lot of people make that decision because they don't have another income plan, and it can be an expensive decision depending on how long you live. Mark, number three, Medicare. Medicare doesn't start until 65. If you retire at 61 or 62, you probably need medical insurance for 3 or 4 years. Individual health insurance in your 60s can easily run $15,000 to $20,000 a year or more for a couple. These are significant costs that you need to plan for.
You have these conversations with adults that want to pull the trigger a little bit earlier. How does that go?
I think the problem of not knowing is you don't know what you don't know. And with everything we've talked about today, the market uncertainty, the balance needed between risk, conservative liquidity accounts, those forgotten 401k accounts, these early retirement traps, you cannot afford to wing it in 2026. Here's what I've learned. Most advisors, or many advisors, they are growth focused. They're like, let's let the dogs run. Let's accumulate money. They hope they grow. They call you once or twice a year. I mean, listen, that strategy is not bad during your working years, but in retirement, it is completely different. Retirement needs specialization. Mark, I just have to repeat this again. For those of you who are out there and you're still working, still putting money away into your 401ks and every other account that you can, we call this the accumulation phase. You're still working. That's the key here. You have another income coming in while you are working. Market goes down, you don't like it, but you've got that income keeping you going. When you retire, when you start taking the money that you've accumulated and you do not have that income that you've gotten for so many years, we call this the distribution phase. The difference between the accumulation phase and the difference in the distribution phase is extremely different. You need someone who understands income planning, the sequence of returns risk, tax efficiency, how to balance growth with protection, and how all of these pieces fit together. That's what we have done at Cypress Financial. We're more than the accumulation guys. We are retirement specific. We understand this transition from working to living off of your savings, from hoping to knowing, from a pile of stuff to a comprehensive, integrated financial plan. 504-732-1001. We are here to help.
John Scallan, not one, but two locations. Where can we find you and the team?
Mark, we are on the North Shore, Florida Street in the Brownstone office complex. Real easy to find, just off of, the East Approach in Metairie, 3421 North Causeway Boulevard, just almost across the street from Lakeside Mall. Again, we will meet you at our office. We can do a virtual call. We will come to your home or your business if your schedule prohibits you from getting out here. Pick up the phone, make the call. We can definitely give you information that can truly make a significant difference in your retirement journey.
And John, before we got started this weekend, you made the comment that you had a ton of Zoom calls last week as well. Do you feel like people have become, I think of Zoom and I still have a little PTSD from COVID and everyone being stuck at home. But do you think we've gotten past that a little bit and people start to realize what an advantage it could be, for those retirement planners to have that conversation with you? Or has Zoom always been a great thing for you in your industry?
Well, Mark, I would say typically our appointments are in person. However, we had a bunch of bad weather, come through the New Orleans area recently. We had an elderly couple. They were not comfortable making the drive in. We suggested, a Zoom call or a Teams call, depending on what kind of technology they were familiar with. And it just went beautifully. We usually have a follow-up meeting in person, but listen, I can tell you unequivocally, we've had taken on new clients from start to finish with 2 or 3 Zoom calls. They were comfortable. We were comfortable. Usually at some point we get to meet them face to face, but at the end of the day, we want to do what serves our clients the best, what works for them, what makes them comfortable. And if we have to go virtual, we are fully prepared, and we love to do those as well.
Well, John, we're about to put a bow on this segment here of the Retirement Roundtable, all powered by Cypress Financial. Any final thoughts? What do you call it? The retirement gumbo, if you will? Some of your thoughts, you want to put them in the pot and mix it around, and let's see what comes out.
Since we're in Mardi Gras season, let's call it the retirement king cake.
Oh, yes,
Can
sir.
we do that?
100%.
Mark, here's the bottom line. 2026 is a very unique year. I mean, think about it. A record number of people are retiring. The markets, they have been volatile. Where even the optimists are now expecting corrections. There's economic uncertainty. Half of our people are expecting a recession. Half are saying, listen, it's going to be a great year. A lot of our clients wondering, am I going to be okay? Here's the good news. We can calculate so much of this. We can plan for it. we can figure this out for your situation. We look at the specific numbers. We look at your risk exposure. We look at those forgotten accounts that we need to get working for you again, your income needs. At the end of the day, we're going to build a plan that makes sense, and it's a plan that's designed for retirement, not just for accumulation. If you were out there and listening to a podcast or the radio show and you are thinking, I need to know where I stand, here's what to do. CypressFinancial.net. You can peruse around, find out more about us. All of our radio shows are there. Again, you can call 504-732-1001. You can book a complimentary appointment from the website or by phone, whatever works best for you. We'll sit down, look at everything, show you the good, the bad, and the not so good. You'll see exactly where you are and what needs to change. Or if you're not quite ready yet, just ask for that retirement ready report. Our team will walk you through some questions, 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll have that report out to you in less than 48 hours. Are you on track? And what does your retirement actually cost?
Investment advisory services offered through Cypress Financial Group, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Cypress Financial Group, John Scallan, Louisiana Insurance License Number 1064997. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Cypress Financial Group. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties.